Uh, Hi, I'm Emma Kinnison. I'm a freshman at Lang and I'm a theater major. And this semester I'm a dramaturg for the spring production at Lang, Not About Nightingales by Tennessee Williams.
Oh, that's really interesting. So, what about this production is interesting or different from pieces that they've performed in the past?
Well, in this play, Zishan has cast former inmates, so not just students at the school. And she works a lot with prisons and teaches acting and directing in prisons and with like former inmates. So there's really a new perspective to it.
That's really interesting. And is there a specific story behind the play? I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, no, Tennessee Williams wrote the play based on the death of four inmates at a prison in Pennsylvania. I think it was Holmesburg prison in Pennsylvania. Four inmates were put in this steam room called Klondike, and the temperature was turned up to almost 200 degrees while they were in there over the course of a few days, and of course they died. And that was in reaction to a hunger strike that the prisoners had created based on the poor quality of their food. Yeah, and that prison was actually closed fairly recently in like 1999.
Wow, that's insane. And you told me that the play was lost for a certain amount of time, or
Right, it was written in 1938 in reaction to that incident, and then it was never performed until about 1990s. It was found by Vanessa Redgrave, an actress who like made it her life's mission to find that play, and it was performed in 1998, 60 years later, and it won a Tony Award.
wow, that's amazing. So, could you give me a quick summary of some of the main events in the play?
Sure, yeah, the play starts off in the waiting room of a prison, and these two women are trying to meet the warden. One is the mother of a man who was imprisoned. It doesn't really say why, other than that a woman had gotten him in some trouble. And then the other is a woman who's there in order to try and get a job as a receptionist. And she's talking about how the play has been built up, not the play, sorry, the prison has been built up into this like scientific thing really about rehabilitation instead of punishment. Then she meets a prisoner there who's working in the office and has been taught big words, and he's supposed to be like this showboat person, and he like just is the front of the prison, and he talks about how great everything is, but he ends up not really feeling that way. And then this woman meets the warden of the prison, who is a very sexist, terrible person who like really tortures people throughout the play. And then you go through these scenes with all these prisoners and them talking about their life before and why they're in prison, and it's all things like they stole a carton of food for their family because it's all taking place during the Great Depression. And then this woman is saying, well, a lot of people would be happy to be here in prison to have food. People get caught all the time to do that. And they're trying to explain to her how terrible their conditions are, how they're like forced into slavery, and they're if they don't work, then they're put in this place called Klondike, the steam room. So then throughout the play, the head prisoner, I suppose you'd call him, he's like the leader of the masses. He organizes a hunger strike, and they all just stop eating except for the prisoner who's the face of the prison. Because he's going up on parole in a few weeks, and he doesn't want to mess up that chance. And then he starts falling in love with the woman who's working there, and she starts loving him, but the warden's trying to be with her, and it's this whole messed up love situation, along with these prisoners who are starving and being tortured and put in solitary confinement because they won't eat. And then eventually they are put in Klondike, and most of them die. Yeah.
That's really heavy. Yeah, what do you think is most valuable about having actual inmates in the production as opposed to, trained actors?
Well, I think they just have a better perspective of it than we do. Our idea of prison is what we see in the media, or at least mine is. I haven't visited prison. I haven't been to prison. I don't really know what goes on there, and they'll be there in the middle of the day, and then someone will suggest something acting wise, and they'll be like, it's not what we did in prison, and that changes everything completely, and it adds new props, and it adds new movements, and like glances that you wouldn't get normally. And
It's sort of a modern experience.
Definitely.
And kind of ties, past history to the current
exactly
situation.
One of Zishan's big things about it is bringing this play and having it transcend time, because the themes are still very, very relevant today. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sitting down with me briefly